Wait 1 second, I just gotta check my base.
Check your base?
On Star Trek Fleet Commander.
No. You stop playing your crappy mobile game and come record our podcast, MC.
Okay, yep.
Every 10 minutes, he's going to be claiming his free 10-minute chest.
Damn right I am.
Oh, jeez. You guys, you have a problem.
Yeah, we kind of do. Our bases are right next to each other.
Yep.
I installed it and I'm not touching it.
You got to join us. We're on Zaphram. It's in the US universes. It's right at the bottom.
It would be Zephram, like Zephram Cochrane.
Yeah. Yep.
Not Zaphram. Shame on you, MC.
Zephram. No, whatever. Welcome to Too Young for This Trek, where we get together and watch random episodes of Star Trek with a person who's never seen Star Trek before. I'm MC.
I'm Troy.
I'm Tyler.
Eric. Oh, wait.
Yeah, there's no Eric today. His laptop is not working. Should we have made up a fake reason?
Yeah,
like
no,
a fun
his
fake
laptop caught the virus.
It's got the intoxication.
Drunk. Yeah, it got that polyphasic water or whatever it's called.
His laptop caught the Rona.
Oh no, not the Roro. Yeah, I don't remember how we start this show.
I can't remember either.
Hey, we watched some Star Trek, and this one was from Next Generation, and it was called The Naked
Time.
Now.
Now.
Yeah,
The Naked
right.
Now.
Dang it.
This is Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 2 or 3, depending on if you count the intro one as a two-parter.
You said it was episode 2 last time, but it's definitely episode 3 according to CBS.
Production order, it's episode 3. However, the series premiere aired as a single double-length episode. So this was the second episode aired because the first one was aired as a feature-length episode, basically. Mm-hmm. So it's 2 or 3. Depends on how you look at it.
What do I put on the thumbnail? I'm going to put 2 or 3.
What does... You know what we do? Is we go to Memory Alpha and see what Memory Alpha says. Memory Alpha says episode 1-3. So they call this episode 3.
Okay. So it's episode 3.
And Netflix calls it 2.
Don't...
Do they?
Yeah.
Because they have the first one as the combined.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Episode.
Okay, I'm going to put episode 2 or 3.
No, definitely do 3. Definitely do 3, because Netflix is wrong.
We have so much to talk about, and I cannot record for 3.5 hours today. So, Tyler, which one was this again?
This is the one where everyone gets drunk again, and a kid saves the day while being drunk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. But it's Next Generation. We finally saw a Next Gen episode.
What's really good about it is right at the beginning of Next Gen, so Tyler doesn't have a lot to catch up on. He's pretty much jumping in at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's true. I suppose with that in mind, we should ask. So we introduced you to Voyager last week with Neelix's cooking. Next Generation was kind enough to introduce itself to you with the bridge. So what, right off the bat, like first minute of the episode, what did you think right away?
Initial thoughts. So, the bridge is kind of funny looking. Like, I don't know, just, it looks very empty compared to Voyager. Like, Voyager's bridge is, like, super busy. There's, like, all these, like, computers everywhere, and it was kind of, I don't know, annoying looking. Like, this just looks, like, very dated, but in, like, a good way, I guess. Like, it's not dark.
It is not dark. It is not dark at all.
There's colors.
So bridges, are you putting the Enterprise D above Voyager?
Yeah.
Okay, where does the original Enterprise fit into
I
that?
don't really remember what it looked like.
Okay, we'll revisit this when we see another shot of the original Enterprise's bridge. Now, you, of course, are familiar with Picard, because you've watched Picard. I don't want to talk about all of the characters. This one has a lot of characters in it, but I feel like we have to make Picard kind of a focus. So do you have any thoughts on seeing Picard in his glory days?
He's more likable on this than he is on Picard. Like, he's not grumpy and he's less old, I guess.
How much of that do you think is because he's drunk?
Well, he's not drunk until the end. But yeah, at the end, there's this one part where like him and Beverly, like Crusher, like wave at each other, and he just looks so like goofy.
His head walks around. That's that shot. I feel like that was an outtake that they just included.
I could say that.
I forgot that we're supposed to go in order on this podcast.
What order?
So, that like through the episode. But it's hard to... Okay. Last episode it was hard to go in order because it was like, there's some interesting stuff happening and also a weird mind virus. This episode is hard for me to go in order because I'm like, all right, y'all, what's the plot of The Naked Now? Well, you remember The Naked Time? That...
Yeah, essentially, it's that again.
That.
This time, there's a ship that's investigating some
a collapsing planet or a collapsing star.
Yeah. Last time it was a collapsing planet. This time it's a star.
Yeah, and so it's not actually a virus. It's just, I think they said it's like some carbon water complex. Whatever that means.
Later
behaves
on.
like a virus.
Yeah.
But they go to the ship and, hey, Star Trek The Next Generation, where is your personal protective equipment? Because you are investigating a ship where, according to what you've heard, you're pretty sure they went crazy, they hit on you, and then they opened an airlock and killed themselves. And you just go over there in your regular old uniforms, just hanging out. No face masks, no gloves. I forgot to tell you guys the story about when I was at Walmart the other day and I saw a lady wearing like full on like the high quality, that good shit face mask and gloves. And then she was at the checkout line and she was doing self-checkout and she was doing it all. And then her nose must have gotten a little itchy because she took her good face mask off, used her gloved hand to rub her nose, and then put her good face mask back on.
Nice.
And I was like, I saw that once in Star Trek. In an episode called The Naked Time. But Naked Now, that doesn't even happen because they're just not wearing protective gear.
You know what happened to that guy that did that? He died.
He died. Yeah. This old lady at Walmart, I feel bad saying that she's probably going to die. She's probably not. There's been hardly any cases here. She'll probably be fine. Just learn to use her equipment better. So they're all wandering around the ship and they're like, it looks like there was some crazy party here.
Indications of what humans would call a wild party?
And then Geordi wanders into a walk-in freezer full of naked people and is like, hey guys, I think somebody had an orgy. And then he opens a shower and a naked person falls into his arms. And then you hear rattle, 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 rattle.
Yeah. They're not naked. They're fully clothed.
Oh, yeah.
Like
the original fully clothed.
Yeah.
They're showering with their clothes on.
So the sound effect in this one is much more subtle. It's like, I think it's actually like wind chimes, maybe. It sounds like steam and wind chimes. But yeah, I didn't notice it at all the first time I watched it. I guess I had the volume down too low because my wife was asleep. And then I just watched it a few minutes ago and it had subtitles on. And so, what does it say? It says like high pitch something. High pitch whooshing.
High pitched whooshing. So, real quick, Tyler, what's the name of the guy who discovered the person in the shower?
Is it Jody? Is that what's his first name? I know his last name is LaForge. Jody.
Jody LaForge. Yep. Not Data, as you previously suspected.
It's the guy from Reading Rainbow.
It is the guy from Reading Rainbow. So then they're like, all right, well, this place is whack. Let's go home. And they beam back to the ship and apparently don't take any precautions whatsoever. They're like, I guess they all just went crazy. Oh, well.
No, they fully decontaminate them. But we know that doesn't work. For some reason.
It's really weird.
Well, when they say fully... It's like when you look at the bottle of hand sanitizer and it says kills 99.9% of germs. That's what they mean by fully decontaminate. Yeah. This is the 1% of viral polyphasic carbonated water infections.
I mean...
They drank some bad LaCroix, and now everybody's going to pay the price.
It's kind of weird because we are 70% water, so would they have noticed that this water's weird?
That there's weird water?
I don't know. They said they checked for intoxication, and they didn't find
intoxicants and hallucinogens.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense because it basically makes water alcohol, right?
So you think they would detect it? Maybe, but it takes a while for it to come into play. I don't quite understand.
Yeah.
Remind me, Tyler, who is it who says that they checked for those things?
Dr. Crusher? Beverly Crusher?
Yep, good job. And who's the lady standing next to Beverly Crusher?
I don't know. I forgot her name.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, no, that's Troy. Sorry, I was thinking it was the other woman in the episode. So question about Troy. Lady
yes.
Troy.
What can I do for you?
Why is her uniform different than everyone else? Everyone else has, like, collars and a pip, and hers is, like, low cut.
Right. This is a good time for us to talk about, hey, look at those uniforms. So Tyler, what do you think overall, we'll come back to your question, but what do you think overall of the Next Generation uniforms we saw in this episode?
So, because of memes, I've seen Picard and everyone else waist up a lot. So I was surprised by the fact that there's like, it's not just like square at the bottom of the red section, it's like at an angle.
It's got that angle?
Yeah. So that's weird. I kind of would like it better if it was just square. That's just being nitpicky, but I like them. I never imagined. I made a version of this in Animal Crossing for my character to wear. It's definitely square at the bottom. Like it's yeah. So now I have to go change it.
You can fix that. So back to your question. You noticed that Troy is not wearing a standard issue Starfleet uniform, and you're wondering why. And to that, I say to you, why do you think? I want a theory.
So, she doesn't have pips as far as I can tell. So she's a hologram. I'm kidding, because we've seen her in other Star Trek medias. But I have no clue. I don't know if maybe she's not an officer.
What do you think, MC? Should we answer this question for him?
I mean, yeah.
Is there like a canon reason, or is it just because they wanted her to be sexy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're like, what if breasts? And they were like, yeah, okay. That's pretty much the backstory.
I like breast.
Star Trek: The Next Generation has some behind-the-scenes issues with sexism, and Deanna Troy's outfit is one of several issues that they have. So it's kind of a shame.
In fact, the uniforms across the board were a whole process and thing. The uniforms that they wear are supposed to be really tight, and that's why you see Jonathan Frakes like tugging on his all the time
because he's a giant of a man.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they've all gone on record on saying that they were too tight and they were so uncomfortable and they just hated them.
I think they're like polyester or something, some material that's really uncomfortable. And like, because they're a onesie, I had this experience once. I think, MC, it was while you were living with me. I won Employee of the Month at my job and got a gift card that I could use on Amazon. So I used it to order a Batman costume for myself, like a responsible adult. And it was too small, and it was a one-piece uniform, and so I could put it on, but what happened is it caused a great amount of tension between my groin and my shoulders, because it fit everywhere, except for that it thought that from my groin to my shoulders should be about 4 inches shorter than it actually was. And apparently that's what the uniforms on Next Gen were like. So I've heard multiple cast members talk about how they had back issues from wearing these uniforms, because basically they're just pulling their shoulders down all the time.
Troy, remember you guys convinced me that because I was a few inches shorter than all of you that I should try it on, and I had the exact same problem, and the shoulders were too small for me. Because I'm a lot broader than Troy is
Right.
as well.
So your width made up for the height difference,
Yeah.
so we have the exact same issue.
Yeah.
And that's how you know that all of the cast has uncomfortable groins as you're watching this. Just keep that in mind
Because
as you watch
Troy's
this.
experienced it. So I don't really see why their uniforms need to be a onesie. It totally looks like they could just be wearing a shirt and pants.
Because they're in space. Everything's a onesie in space.
Also,
I mean-
you could definitely tell they're tight because you can see. I noticed once you could see Data's nipples. So
I thought you were going to say something else. I thought you were going to say you saw his Enterprise D.
oh,
Something in here.
So they take Geordi in and they're like, hey, Geordi, listen, we're going to examine you just to make sure we didn't miss anything. And he's like, well, maybe it's because you're a piece of shit, doctor. And they're like, whoa.
and he's like, "Hey, it was a joke. It was a joke. Like, cool out."
He just goes so overboard so fast. And they're like,
And they're like, you're staying in sickbay. Something's wrong with you.
we might have missed something.
And then he gets sad from there.
Yeah, he gets depressed and is like, listen, I'm going to go look at space and wish that I could look at space, but I can't because I'm blind. Meanwhile, Riker's like, hey, Data, do you remember anything weird in the history books about somebody showering with their clothes on?
And then they
just
look in the history books and they find me. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, because I did that."
Well, you talked about that story on The Naked Time.
Yep. So Data's kind of overwhelmed with Data because it's happened very often. And then Riker's like, "Oh yeah, I remember it was in something about like a book about other like ships named the Enterprise." And he's like, "Oh, that narrows it down." And so even before he finds the information, Riker's already told Picard that they found it. And then luckily by the time Picard gets there, they have found it.
I noticed that too. I'm like, he's like, it was something to do with the Enterprise. Hey, Captain, come here. And it's like, oh,
We got it.
hang on, wait.
I remember I was reading a history of all the past starships named Enterprise.
Enterprise history, aberrant behavior, medical cross-reference.
Captain, I believe we have the answer to what happened over there.
So I happened to pause the screen as it's showing like Data like going through all the information. And there's this one image that like most of it's like, oh, there's ship diagrams. Here's just some planets and stuff. And one is the image of a bird with a human head. I don't know what that's about.
What?
Yep.
I got nothing.
I'll send it to you later. Yeah.
It could
It's an
potentially be
alien
a
race.
reference to the second episode of the animated series where there's a humanoid Birdman. Or
Yeah,
it's
that's what I'm
just,
saying.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's an alien race, for sure.
So Geordi's wandering around the ship, and then Tasha Yar comes in. Oops, I gave a name away because she's head of security. And he's like, I wish I could see. And she's like, you can see so much better than I can. And he's like, yeah, but I wish I could see.
It's like
And she's
more
like,
isn't
"All right,
better.
Oh, wait.
let's go to sickbay.
Before that, we get the same with Wesley.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's right. Wesley's the second one infected,
Yeah.
isn't he?
Wesley's got
Yeah.
a tractor beam that he made. And he's like, I can make this chair float.
Is this where he shows also his little communicator box thingy?
Yes.
Where he's like, check it out. I invented a thing that lets me pretend Captain Picard is giving me orders, which says a lot of weird things about Wesley's personality.
Yeah.
But he's like, he can order me around to do anything he wants. That just seems like a bad thing to have be a thing. But Geordi's so drunk that he's like, nice, Wes, nice. And then he wanders out again.
Yeah. Not before
And then he
touching
goes
him.
and gets Tasha Yar, and yeah, he's like, nice, Wes, and just pats him on the face, and then he gets all infected. Then he goes and finds Tasha Yar, and he just like rubs his hand all up in her nose, and then she gets infected too. And
Does
then
that
later,
happen?
like, Deanna Troy's infected, and Riker's like, I'm gonna carry you to sickbay, and he picks her up, and then he goes and he touches his hands all over the doctor's face. He's like, Doctor, I don't understand what's wrong. And he rubs his hands on her face, and she's like, you touched her, and you touched me. And just everybody on the ship is rubbing their hands all over each other all the time, effectively.
If you want to know what not to do during a pandemic, watch The Naked Now.
Or The Naked Time. Watch both of them.
Yeah. Don't do that stuff.
Don't rub your hands. I mean, Jordy literally does rub his hands on Yar's face. Like, that one,
Yeah.
I was not making up. So now Yar's infected, and she goes to Deanna Troy's quarters and is like, you have such beautiful clothing. I want to wear all of it so I can get laid. And Troy's like, you okay there? And she's like, yeah, I just really want to wear all your clothes and get laid. And she's like, okay. And then Yar goes walking through the halls, and there's like a gratuitous booty shot where she's like swinging her hips. In a way, I gotta imagine that'd be uncomfortable to walk. Like, that seems like it would hurt to swing your hips that much.
Especially while wearing a onesie that's too tight.
Yeah, a too tight onesie and heels.
But then she just grabs this guy by the face and just mouth rapes him.
Yeah, and so now he's got the rattle of drunkenness too.
Yep.
And then, is this where we get to the scene? Is this the scene where she calls Data?
There's some stuff before there, but it's close. So there's this one line that Picard said something about her having a snootful, and I don't know what he means by that. And Data's like, a snootful? And what is a snoot? It sounds like something.
I am not sure what a snootful is, honestly.
Okay.
A snoot? That's like nose.
Is it like a...
Nose? She's got a nose full?
Are they talking about cocaine?
I don't know.
Have a snootful. Verb. Idiomatic, to be drunk.
The more you know. Oh, we skipped over Wesley going to engineering. That's what's next.
Yeah.
So Wesley wanders down, and he's like, hey there, engineering crew. Captain Picard really wants you on the bridge and in sickbay and in other places. And they're like, no, he doesn't. And he's like, oh yeah? Boop, 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 boop. And then it's like, Captain or engineering lady, whose name I don't remember, come to the bridge. And then he's like, Jim Shimoda, you come to sickbay. And they're like, okay. And so then they leave. And Wesley's in charge.
Yeah, so Jim's like, I can't leave because then nobody will be here. And Wesley's like, I'll be here. And he's like, I'll leave a kid in charge. Genius.
He's like, I'll be here. And he sticks his finger in his mouth, and Wesley licks his own finger and then shoves it up Jim Shimoda's nose. And Jim's like, oh, okay. So now Wesley's in charge of engineering.
And then we get everyone having their drunken party, and
this is where it's starting to be all over the bridge,
Yeah.
or all over the ship. You start to see people being drunk. Yar's smooching on people. Jim Shimoda comes back to engineering and is like super wasted and is like, Wesley, let me come in, man. We can hang out and I'll play with isolinear chips like they're blocks. And Wesley's like, yeah, okay, that sounds like fun. And everybody else in engineering is just falling over themselves laughing.
Wesley has like a deflector shield essentially, and so Jim walks straight into that, and he's like, cool.
Yeah, that does happen.
Is this where Wesley takes over the ship, or is Data next?
No, Data's next.
Okay. Tyler, I need you to take the reins because I have to know how this comes across for somebody new to Star Trek.
So, one, I wasn't expecting Data to be able to get drunk, but he does. So Data, I think he's supposed to be going... What's her name again? I forgot. That he's going
Tasha.
Tasha
Yar.
So he's going to, I guess, take Tasha to sickbay because Troy's like, she's acting kind of funny. So he gets there, and she's like... Hey, Data, do you know when I was abandoned as a child? And Data's like, no, I was not aware chronologically. But
I thought that was funny. Yeah. Do you know how old I was? Chronological age? Like, yeah.
What other age is there? But yeah, so then she goes on to tell him about how until she was 15, she had to learn how to stay alive, how to avoid the rape gangs. And I'm like, rape gangs? Huh.
Yep.
But I survived. I learned how to stay alive. How to avoid the rape gangs.
And then she proceeds to hit on him. She's like, now I want something gentle. I want to be lived. Are you fully functional? And then that's when Data has his line that I've heard you say before. That he is fully functional and...
programmed in a variety of techniques.
Yep. A broad variety of pleasuring.
Ugh. Somehow that's worse than a variety of techniques.
Of course, but
How fully?
in every way, of course. I am programmed in multiple techniques. A broad variety of pleasuring.
You jewel, that's exactly what I hoped.
Like I said, I don't want to do deep dives on each character, but with what you know of Yar so far, what do you think of Yar? And specifically, Eric actually wanted me to ask about this, like, backstory coming into play.
Backstory? Yeah, so up until this point, I'm just like, she's a person, like, nothing out of place. And now I'm just like, what the hell happened to her? Like, she was abandoned. Like, it feels like maybe, like, what the worst case scenario could have been for Rey in Star Wars, because she was abandoned as a child on some random desert planet. So it's like rape gangs, yeah. It's like maybe what would happen if she was abandoned on, I'm blanking on the name of the Star Wars city planet.
Coruscant.
Yeah. Should avoid rape gangs there, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to try and seduce a robot, but she goes for it, and
it works.
It works. That's my next question for you, Tyler. Is did Data and Tasha Yar do it?
I'm only going to tell you this just once. It never happened.
I think so. Data seemed into it. So I have a couple of questions, and I don't know if you'll answer this, but so first of all, do you think this was the first time Data's had sex, if he did have sex?
That's a great question. All we know at this point is that he is fully functional and programmed in a wide variety of
So
techniques.
he's practiced with himself, at least. So do you think Data masturbates?
That was what the face I just made was realizing that that's where you were going and going, I don't know. I don't know if it's come up. I don't know if it's come up.
Also,
His
do you
Enterprise
think
D.
she specifically wanted Data? Because she didn't call for him. He just got sent. Like, would any person have worked?
That's a great question. Ooh. I think that Yar would have been, wandering through the halls, sure, make out with a random dude. But then I think she, like, came to her senses enough to realize she wanted somebody who could be, like, discreet about the situation. And so Data was the perfect candidate. So I don't know if she particularly would have picked him, but I think when he showed up, she was like, perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for.
I love the part when Data gets back to the bridge and Picard's like, are you drunk? And Data's like, I'm fully functional.
At least you're functioning fully, Captain.
Why can Data get infected?
Because does he not bleed? I mean, does he have, I forgot what he says. He says, when you prick me, do I not leak?
Yeah.
That's a great line.
Apparently that explains it, I guess.
Yeah, he's humanish. He has blood
he
stuff.
He is humanish. This is one of the, like, most iconic moments in Next Gen, I would say. Like, people, like, this is, like, top, maybe not top 10, but top 20, like, individual moments is Data going to Yar's quarters that it, like, people remember, because it's just bonkers. The fully functional and programmed, like, whoa, okay, yeah. Star Trek. Yeah, sure, why not? And then basically everybody else gets infected and the ship explodes, but we'll talk about that after these messages.
Do you like video games? Ever thought about making a video game? Do you find that a week or 2 weeks is kind of short for a game jam? Well, have I got the game jam for you? With the We Can Make This Work Probably Game Jam. The jam runs from April 20th to June 9th to provide a nice amount of time for you to make something cool. And the theme is, if you can smell that fart, you're not far enough apart. Shout out to the Lebanon, Maine Fire Department for this meme. Check out the link in the description for more information and to figure out how to join and submit. Have fun!
Okay, I might have lied. The ship doesn't actually blow up in the second half of the episode.
A ship blows up.
Oh, yeah, the other ship blows up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I didn't lie. I just obscured the truth.
MC looks really hip right now.
He was wearing his cool mask.
Yeah. He's wearing it around his throat because it's a bandana.
The extra stuff that's happening in this episode is that the star that they're looking at is like starting to spit out some star bits, and one of them hits the other ship and blows it up, and
Shooting stars?
a bit's going to hit our ship. But it's not going to happen yet, because first MC wants to talk about something to do with Deanna Troi.
Yes, I do. Essentially, she comes down to engineering where Riker is and trying to deal with the chips being pulled out and played with like blocks, and Wesley blocking off engineering. And Deanna's like, all the mines are free.
Oh, yeah.
And she starts just collapsing because everyone else is like freaking out.
Because she can feel everybody's minds going crazy.
Yeah.
We also skipped over Wesley, because that means we must have gotten past the part where Wesley's like, calls up the bridge and is like,
I'm the
hey,
captain now."
Picard, I'm in charge now. Look at me. I'm the captain now. It's like that meme, but he's happy.
I'm pretty sure that's after, oh wait, is that before or after Deanna gets to the sickbay? Because I know there's a scene after
It almost
this.
certainly doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
So this is the same as Riley did, including calling for extra servings of ice cream. I think Riley did the same thing.
He does call
Or
for
O'Reilly,
dessert. Yeah,
whatever his name
they
is.
do that. I didn't catch that. I think Wesley is much better than Riley. He doesn't sing for one thing. And he actually saves the day in the end. So
do it.
Well,
Okay.
There's the scene in the sickbay that I want to talk about as well, because they synthesize the same cure as what happened on the other
true.
Enterprise, but it doesn't work.
because the not a virus mutated.
I mean, it's been a long time, so that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's also
Yeah.
not from the same place because that planet blew up.
True.
As far as I
think
can
about
tell,
it.
this just happens to water when gravity is just weird around it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Don't
Yeah.
take your your water into a weird gravity situation.
Do you think the reason it doesn't make maraca sounds, it makes wind chime noises, is because it mutated into a different sound effect?
Yeah, that makes absolute sense to me. Why does it make a sound to begin with? Who knows? Wesley Crusher. I have to mention the line where Picard is like, "You're under the effects of alcohol," and he's like, "Oh, this is what it's like to be drunk? I feel weird, but good."
Yeah. He says,
Yeah.
"So you mean I'm drunk?" Like very excitedly. And yeah, I think it's really weird that everyone on the ship gets extra horny, but the teenager.
Yeah, he just wants to have Picard give him orders.
Yeah.
Oh, else is horny.
Yeah, no,
Even
that's
Picard.
the whole. Wesley is like, when he has control of the ship, Picard's like, "Hey, put all the controls back up on the bridge," and Wesley is like, "Why can't you just tell me what to do? I can do it."
Yeah, he's like, "You don't really do anything anyways. You just tell people to do things. Just tell me to do things, Daddy."
Meanwhile, his mom, Dr. Crusher, comes to the bridge and she's like, "Jean-Luc, can I talk to you in your office, Daddy? I've got an urgent matter. I mean, a personal matter. I mean, an urgent
Spank me,
matter."
please. What?
I love when he walks into the room and she's like lounging across his desk. So like physically she's into it, but mentally she like when she's saying, she's like, "We've really got to deal with this infection." She's like,
She's
all
like
on
a
display.
centimeter away from his face, like mouth open.
Did you make note of the laugh?
The laugh.
Because as Crusher's hitting on Picard, she's like, "Listen, we should really deal with this, but maybe bone down right now first." And he goes, it's like he does the weirdest laugh.
Yeah, I like the part where she like unzips her top and then he's got his arm like around her against the wall, but they're just having like a sort of normal conversation after she's like, "You know, sir, you owe me something. I haven't had the touch of a man, of a husband in like some
Ooh.
time." Yeah.
Not now, Doctor. Please. please.
Here's a good question. Why does Picard owe her?
He killed her husband. I don't know.
Ooh. Okay. Moving on. I don't remember what happens next. Is this just and then Wesley fixes it?
Can we talk about Worf for a bit?
Sure.
He doesn't do much in this episode, but I like him because he's like the only one who doesn't get infected or doesn't show signs of it. He's just like doing his job, being very serious and professional the whole time. And I just thought, I don't know, it's really funny, like just how he bounces off of everyone else. He's just like, I know there's one part where Data's reciting like a limerick, and he's like, there was a girl. He said something about the girl coming from Venus who had a body that was shaped like a. And Picard like cuts him off, and then Data's just like, did I say something wrong? And Worf's like, yeah, I don't get their sense of humor either.
Once was a woman from Venus whose body was shaped like a penis. I don't know what the rest of it. I meant to finish that limerick before we recorded, and I forgot to.
Finish it now.
Check our social medias. We'll post it there.
Riker's still trying to get into engineering, and then it's like back to the bridge, and
they're like, hey, Wesley, you realize the ship's going to explode? And he's like, oh, we should fix this. Send Data down here right now, because he can put the data chips back in. And Data's trying to put the chips back in, and they're like, Data, hey, Data, hey, you're putting all those chips back in real fast. Or you're going to get it back in time, though, before that thing hits us, though, right? And Data's like, no. And just keeps putting them in.
It's like, I need exactly 1 minute.
Shit. Wesley figures out that he can make his tractor beam on the ship, and it'll be big tractor beam. It'll push it apart, and then Data can fix it, and then they'll be able to fly away.
Well, I'm pretty sure Wesley just used the actual tractor beam on the ship. I don't think he just like went on the outside of the ship, connected his, and he's like, hey, look, Mom, I'm on the outside of the ship. This is really cool.
So here's how he saved the day. Is apparently Wesley made a miniature version of the ship's tractor beam, but then he figured out how to inverse the polarity so that it became a repulsor beam instead of a tractor beam, and then he went and applied that same theory to the tractor beam on the big ship. So the ship has a tractor beam, and they've never invented technology to push things away from their spaceship, is why Wesley was able to save the day.
So I think it's interesting that Picard wanted to tow that ship away. I guess they were going to, give those people proper funerals. And then Wesley's just like, let's use them to like help us get away. Let's just destroy those bodies. Like, who cares?
We'll just push off of them. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So he throws them at a sun rock, because suns throw out rocks. I thought that was weird at first, but then I was like, I'm pretty sure I remember in college when I took this class on like astronomy or something, space things, that there was mention of maybe the sun and other giant gas planets have Earth-sized rocks inside of the middle of them. So I'm like, I guess that's what it is.
All right, I can go with it. Yeah. I mean, that's not the weirdest thing in this episode. So Wesley saves the day, and they're like, oh, good. Yeah, that's the weirdest thing. They're like, good job, Wesley. We should probably give you and your science teacher awards. And then everybody just goes back to work and flies away.
Well, I mean, Beverly does come up with an answer in the end.
Well, yeah, she does. But the answer is just they just give him a shot.
Boring.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's boring. They fix it and they fly away.
I like the hyper sprays, but we're starting to get closer to that technology.
That's true. I was reading about needleless injections just a couple weeks ago. They're getting there. Tyler, what do you have? You haven't seen this before. MC and I have seen this before. What do you have to wrap up the episode?
Okay, so this will wrap it up, but it's just a random thing I noticed. There's a part where Geordi is talking about like how he's never seen certain things like sunsets, sunrises, and in particular, a rainbow.
A rainbow, because of rainbow. I noticed that too. Yeah. I gotta believe that was like just a little joke.
So we didn't talk about the theme song.
Yeah.
I don't really remember
we got to ask
space. The final frontier.
We still got to ask Tyler his questions.
That's true. But tell me about the theme. What do you think about the theme? And then we'll do questions.
I like it. I don't really remember it specifically, but I enjoyed it more than the Voyager one. I think the original series theme is better. And I thought it was kind of cool how the end of the like title sequence is basically the same as the original series, where the ship's just like swooshing in and out of frame.
Yeah.
It's kind of goofy and cheesy.
Did you notice the change in the opening monologue?
No.
There's a one-word change from the original series to Next Gen.
What is it?
In the original series, it was where no man has gone before.
Oh.
In Next Gen, it's where no one has gone before.
That's nice.
It's a good change.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small change, but it's a good change. Questions. We already talked about the uniform. We talked about why Data can be drunk. We talked about Tasha Yar's rape gangs. We talked about the theme. How many other Next Gen characters can you name? Give me names, as many as you can.
Okay.
Rapid fire.
Data, Picard, Worf, Troy, Crusher 1, Crusher 2. Is there anyone else? Oh, LaForge.
What's his first name?
Geordi. I want to call him Jody. That's why I just said his last name.
Jody.
I was like, I couldn't remember his name. Tasha. Was there a guy named Jim? There was almost certainly a guy named Jim.
There was a guy named Jim.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I think that's it.
Jim Shimoda in engineering. What's the name of the chief engineer?
No clue.
Okay. Do you remember who the chief engineer was?
I know it was a woman, but that's all I know.
What about number one?
Number one? Oh, did I not mention Riker?
I think you said number one.
I don't think I did.
That's a lot of characters. That's pretty good. Of those characters, who is your favorite and least favorite from this episode?
I didn't really have a least favorite. I guess Tasha. The whole rape gang thing was weird, so we're gonna go with that for the least. And then favorite is probably Data, but Worf is a close second. I enjoyed his non-reaction to things. And Riker was really cool too. I thought it was interesting how he like kind of doesn't have a reaction for a long time to getting infected. Like Picard reacts like almost immediately.
Well, that's because he's horny for Beverly. He was just using being drunk as an excuse.
Oh God. Like that whole part was really funny. Like I know, like I already mentioned when he has her pinned against the wall, but I was just looking at a screenshot I took, and he's like, "Not now." Like he's like, "I really want this, but trying not to die."
Trying to keep the whole ship from exploding. Yeah. And on that note, what lessons can we take from the naked time? Naked now? Naked time.
Now. Naked now.
What can we take from this? I didn't think about this in advance. The only thing I have is kind of dumb and I don't know that it perfectly fits, but I guess you shouldn't underestimate children. They can do things.
The more you know. So, you've brought this up a few times. You keep saying that Wesley saved the day. What's your thought on Wesley at this point?
He doesn't bother me. I know people don't like him, but in this, I didn't...
Okay.
Yeah. He's fine.
He was fine in this episode? Yeah. Okay. What else do we have, MC?
Was there a tribble here?
There were no tribbles that I noticed.
Correct, there was not.
There was also no Spot, which was disappointing.
Yeah, no Spot, no cats. Yeah. How about Majel Barrett Roddenberry? Was she in this episode?
I don't think so, unless she was the chief engineer.
No, she was not. Good guess, though. Is that it, MC? Except for the big question?
Yeah.
The big question, Tyler. What'd you think of this episode?
I really liked it. It was a really fun episode.
Really?
Yeah. It was... Okay. I thought it was better than the original series episode, that it was basically the same thing of, I thought their reactions to being intoxicated were more believable than, how Sulu was like running around like sword fighting. And then that one guy who painted on the wall was just laughing, staring at a paintbrush. Like they were more like toned down and believable. Most people were just making out and laughing.
All right. So are you putting this into your good category?
Yep. It's our first good episode, technically.
It is the first one that you've ranked a good episode. We did not.
Oh, really?
We called this one a bad episode.
Do you still think that?
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to the rest of Next Generation, this is a bad episode.
Huh.
And I think for me, a big part of my problem with this episode is that it, and obviously this doesn't apply to how Tyler's watching Star Trek, but the fact that it's, the second story in Next Generation, it's like, hey, what if we did an episode where our characters acted really weird before anybody knew how the characters acted normally?
Yeah.
And so it doesn't feel right to me. But I enjoyed watching it, but I don't think it's a good episode. If that makes sense.
mean, you thought that the original series, it was like episode 4, so it would have the same thing would have applied.
But on that one, I don't know. I think it's because it was more outlandish that, it was obvious that people were being bizarre. And I don't know. For some reason, that one worked for me. I think that it's campy. This episode is a campy episode, and I like camp in my original series. I don't like it as much in my next gen.
I thought it was campy, but toned down a lot compared to the original series episode. So that's why I did like it, because it was funny, but it wasn't completely stupid.
That's fair. It's valid. That takes us to the very last question, Tyler, which is we need to pick the next episode from the big list.
So I've narrowed it down, but it's on my old computer, so I got to open that up. Troy, let's MC, sing us a song.
Oh, no, I'm not singing. There's no way you're going to get me to sing ever.
Unless we get him intoxicated.
Wait, that's not the right song. I've forgotten what the song I was singing was.
La Cucaracha.
Oh, no.
Was it Big Booty Bitches?
It might have been Big Booty Bitches, but
I love big
it's hard to
bitches,
say.
Big booty. Okay, I found the list. So, I'm going to attempt to pick another virusy episode, just because why not?
Okay.
So I've narrowed it down to some that I think could possibly be one. And I think one is, I wrote something else that's unrelated. It's just the numbers 2851, which I don't know what that is. I don't think it's an episode.
Nope.
Yep. Maybe it's like a PIN number to my debit card. It's not. So possible choices are Blood Fever, The Paradise Syndrome, Spock's Brain, and then Masks.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was thinking Spock's brain. I was like, that last episode was a Vulcan having brain issues. So maybe Spock gets a brain issue. I don't know.
Okay.
At Paradise Syndrome, I'm like, it's got the word syndrome. Blood fever, mask. You wear a mask when you're sick now.
Yeah.
But I also picked another episode that I'm like, if I don't want to do one of these, there's one called Cat Spa. And I don't know if you put a typo or if it's actually Cat Spa. I don't know if it's supposed to be Cat's Paw or it's actually supposed to be Cat Spa.
Oh, no, it's Cat's Paw.
Cat Spa. Okay, because Cat Spa sounds a lot more interesting. It's like Spock goes to the spa in this episode. But yeah.
I'm just checking what the apostrophe situation is on that episode.
Okay. So that one's going to be like my rainy day episode. Like if we do too many that are just bad in a row, I'm going to be like, this one's probably good.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is Cat Spa.
Okay.
One word. Just how I had it spelled.
Cat Spa. All right. So I think I'm going to go with the Paradise Syndrome.
Excellent. Paradise Syndrome. All right. I'm going to pull up screen sharing and we will check out a trailer.
Yeah.
For Season 3, Episode 3, The Paradise Syndrome.
Kirk to Enterprise.
It's back on the original series.
Once the asteroid has been diverted,
That may be hours from now.
in that case, everyone on this planet will die, including the captain.
Mark all phases on that mark.
You lost for us, you lost for that planet, you lost for Jim.
We are your people.
Oh, that's going to be a racist episode, huh?
I say he must prove he is a god. Many things are strange to me.
Marilyn, come here.
child.
I cannot permit this joining.
Good
You
flip.
are a god.
There's the false one.
Can I unpick this episode? Oh man. So, that looks like it's going to be awful. Yeah, listeners, if you're not familiar with it, this is going to be one that's like Space Native Americans, apparently.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's going to be bad.
I'm sure they handle it delicately and with finesse.
I'm sure. Like, they were all about PC culture back in the 60s.
Yep.
Yep.
We when we were making the list, we were including good and bad episodes. We did think about also just including a category that was like really racist episodes.
Because there's a few racist episodes that are human racist episodes in the original series. But then as you get up into like the next gen Voyager DS9 era, the racism seems to be against alien races.
It at least becomes metaphorical racism, where you're like, this is about a particular race on Earth, but we at least made them look like aliens so that it's not, Native Americans in space, which is what this episode is. So
I'm going to try and keep an open mind. I'm going to go into this. I'm going to say it's going to be a bad episode for the record, but I'm going to go into it trying to expect it to be an okay episode. I'm just going to be like, they're going to handle it well. There's going to be a good reason that there are I don't think classical is the right way to describe stereotypical Native American people in space. There's going to be a good reason for it.
Sure there is.
I just want to point out to the listeners, these Native Americans are not Native Americans at all.
Almost certainly they are not actual Native American actors, if that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Because it's the 60s, so probably not. So, anyway, we've got stuff you can go check out if you don't want to watch Paradise Syndrome.
Yeah.
And Tyler will tell you all about it.
Yeah, so related to Syndrome, you can listen to more of MC and Troy on the best animated shows ever so far, where they watch, rank, and review every episode of every cartoon ever so far based on the first 3 episodes. And why I say it's related to Syndrome is because they're watching the Men in Black animated series right now, and I think every episode is the something syndrome. So,
yep. Every single one.
Everyone. So yeah, and you can find Eric if you missed Eric because he's not here today.
If you can find him.
If you can find Eric, if his computer comes in time, he's supposed to have a new episode out. I think Tuesday or Wednesday, the 22nd for Earth Day. So I think us and some other people are going to be on that episode. I haven't recorded anything for it yet. I don't know if Troy has. MC.
I recruited someone else. I showed the ring to somebody else so they can be a sacrifice for me.
Yeah, I'm going to do it later today, and I won't reveal what I'm going to talk about, but it's something relating to where I live.
It should be a cool episode. I'm excited to hear it, even though I'm not contributing to it.
I'm hoping I have time to contribute to it, but we'll see. I also have to edit this. So, you can find my other podcast, Too Young for This Hit, by, searching for Too Young for This Hit. I haven't written anything for my own plug. So I'm just like, how do I plug this? Last week it was incomprehensible. Anyways, you can find links to everything I just mentioned in the show notes, as well as links to everyone's social media, and a link to our Discord channel where you can chat with us about Star Trek and other stuff, including James Bond, which we're doing another podcast called Podcasters Assemble, and the season's about James Bond. So yeah.
Yeah, when you're listening to this episode, we will have just cut off submissions for Thunderball. And we'll be taking submissions for the next movie in the James Bond series, which I definitely know what it is without having to go to our website and check the schedule. I think it's You Only Live Twice. Speaking of racist things, it's You Only Live Twice. So
is that a racist one? Is that?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because the only James Bond I've seen is... I forgot the name of it, but it's the black exploitation one. So that...
I mean, that one's pretty racist. You Only Live Twice features Sean Connery disguising himself as an Asian man by getting a slight tan and putting on a bad wig. So, not great.
Yeah, the one I'm thinking of is Live and Let Die, which has Pimp Mobiles.
Live and Let Die.
But a great song. So, yeah.
One of the best songs. Not one of the best movies, but a great song. Anyway, go find that on Podcasters Assemble, and you can submit to it by finding us on Twitter as @CastersAssemble or going to probablywork.com.
Specifically, you can go to probablywork.com/podass. Because I made that.
Podass, probably.
How do we end it?
Is that it?
I think that's it.
Listen, I just was scanning this planet, and there's a super cool obelisk that we should definitely go probably just like pick our noses and sneeze into our hands and then rub our hands all over this obelisk. So
sounds good.
We got to go do that right now. 3 to beam out.
Troy's coming to us from the frozen orgy room.
That's right. I'm coming to you from there. No, don't include that. You're already recording. Don't include that.
This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably Network.
Follow us on Twitter
@ProbablyWork
for more of our questionable content.
Also, we have a website called probablywork.com.